Got to start the video with a little pound. The crypto dip happening before our eyes. This is Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart. This is exactly what we want to see. And it might seem odd, me sitting here kind of celebrating this Bitcoin dip. If we look at the 4-hour momentum oscillator RSI going from overbought, heading towards oversold, whether you think we're in a bull market yet or we're getting ready to enter a bull market, these moves, these dips, they happen. So if you've never kind of been in a crypto bull market, this is a really good lesson. It's exactly what we should always anticipate. So in this video, I want to discuss what triggered the move. Obviously, it's this headline: SEC will reject all Bitcoin spot ETFs in January. I want to talk about what triggered the move, but I also want to talk about what to anticipate next in terms of the zoomed out, in terms of the macro scheme of things. So everybody, please hit the subscribe, hit the like, and let's jump into the video. Now, I want to start with a clip from a couple days ago, really quick. Check this out. Very important $50,000 target, but notice we're breaking out of the triangle. Maybe we go a little higher. I'm always anticipating throwbacks. These throwbacks, and again, this is a daily, right? This could be a little bit up and then just down, right back down, right? As we're talking about all this speculative Bitcoin spot ETF, people are getting freaked out back down to 42 because the news hasn't launched yet. And then, maybe all of a sudden it's falling because there's rumors of something else. Again, I'm going to say this. I'm playing that clip for context. How often, everybody, and how often am I saying this? How often do these things play out? We get the throwback, and yeah, it's not always the same reason for a throwback, but there's always events that can trigger a technical move. And that's what I say all the time. Obviously, nobody knew, hey, there's going to be this rumor that comes out on January 3rd that SEC is going to reject the Bitcoin spot ETF and it's coming back down. Nobody's saying that we can predict events, but events are oftentimes a thing that just trigger a technical move that needs to happen. In this case, it's a throwback to the triangle. And we're in this very speculative environment right now. In the short term, any day now, people are expecting some type of news, right? So it's very, very just sensitive. Bitcoin and crypto, very sensitive at the moment as it's already entering this overbought phase, right? Out of this symmetrical triangle. So the move back to the apex, critical. But what's the key? Put aside the headline that triggered it. Put aside the speculation that's going on in the markets. What happens here at support? And that's what we're going to dig into in the charts. But obviously, let's just discuss what's going on. SEC will reject all Bitcoin spot ETFs in January. So Bitcoin price dumped 9% in 1 hour on the basis of a report by Matrixport predicting an SEC rejection of all Bitcoin ETF applications. And wait till you see something. I'm going to show you a couple posts right now in terms of Matrixport, how reliable they actually are. But their justification, politics. 5 voting commissioners are Democrats. Democrats don't like crypto. Applicants haven't satisfied the SEC's requirements. There's not political justification to approve a Bitcoin ETF. Those points actually, it makes sense, right? To be careful of a Bitcoin spot ETF approval. It really does make sense. Gary hates crypto. Elizabeth Warren, Gary's boss, anti-crypto army leader, hates crypto. Why are they going to approve this? But it really is. On a deeper layer, on the surface, that makes sense. But what's going on a deeper level in terms of the big money, in terms of the influence of BlackRock and Larry Fink, right? What is really going on? And you start just integrating that into the political dynamics of it all. Yeah, on the surface, this makes sense. But what's the money doing? And what's happening behind the scenes? So I think there's still a very good chance the ETFs get approved. But check this out. This is Bloomberg analyst Eric over here on X retweeting. He said, looks like the Matrix report took both the blue pill and the red pill, because look at this. On the same day, Matrixport, they're saying, you can see if I zoom in, Bitcoin spot ETF approval imminent. And then right here, why the SEC will reject Bitcoin spot ETF again. Talk about manipulation. I wonder, and I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but you can't help but wonder, what is this? What is this? Is somebody behind the scenes like trying to manipulate the narratives and the price of Bitcoin? What is going on? In relation to what Eric's thoughts are on the situation, Again, the Bloomberg analysts over here, people tagging me like crazy on this rejection report. We have heard nothing to indicate anything but approval, but I want to give the guy benefit of doubt. So I'm asking if he has any sources or if he's just speculating. He seems to be a Bitcoin bull and recently tweeted executives said approval likely. So again, is this like some manipulation going on? What is the deal? At this point, SEC saying rejecting it isn't just going against, this is James, another Bloomberg analyst, and I, like it was in the early days. Now you basically saying multiple mainstream news reporters with multiple sources on inside of this also have it wrong too. As you know, the approval is like 90% plus or so in terms of a lot of these analysts, I believe. And so I think they're still sticking to that. Now, needless to say, the headline happened. It is what it is. We go over to the Bitcoin daily chart, and this is what we're looking at. The throwback is happening right now. So first thing I just want to point out is you look at this wick. First off, Bitcoin fell below the lower trend line, right? So this is gonna really tie into the short-term analysis of what I'm potentially anticipating here on the short term. But this 50-day moving average, that is exactly what we would want to see in a continued uptrend, right? Is 50-day moving average support to the upside. I want to point something out. This a word of caution, because we're going to talk about downside as well in case this move continues to the downside. 50-day moving average support is always good in a bull trend, right? And we can go look. I'm going to actually just show you real quickly the last bull market, right? Continued higher highs and higher lows above the 50 and the 20, these moving averages, is always exactly what we want to see. I mean, look at that support right there at the blue line, the 50-day moving average. That's like a bull market type of move, right? That's exactly what we wanted to see. But the word of caution that I just want to put out there, as we've been discussing on this YouTube channel most recently, is the very fact that prior to these Bitcoin halvings in cycles past, Bitcoin retraces one last time to these moving averages. The 20-week moving average now, 33,000. The 50-week is right down around 30,000. The 200 also around 30,000. The reason I'm bringing that up is because on the daily chart, which we've been discussing, and this was the point of my video last night was truly just to discuss potential downside, right? And the downside target is $37,000 out of this triangle. We go to the triangle itself. It's testing the apex now. Is it going to just continue kind of consolidating? We get the break to the upside, or is it going to just continue falling? Then we have to start really talking about the reality of a $37,000 Bitcoin. In that case, what's happening? Exactly what has happened in cycles past, which is the retracement to the moving averages. Notice $37,000 on the weekly. If I just mark it real quick, this would allow Bitcoin 20-week and the 50 just to start kind of getting closer into Bitcoin. This is what we've been discussing on this YouTube channel in recent analysis, especially in regards to this symmetrical triangle. Now, what I want to say on the 4-hour, because things are imminent, right? A rejection or an approval. So many different things can happen. What I'm watching though is and this really is putting aside the speculation, what's happening in terms of the structure that is on the screen of Bitcoin, right? And look how well this has helped us so far. Anticipating a throwback from this level, we got it. Now here's what I'm anticipating next. Open up a 4-hour. The first thing I'm noticing is we're not in oversold yet. This short-term move to the downside, I'm not quite sure it's over, right? I really like to see in these kind of very quick capitulation type of moves, I really like to see Bitcoin hit oversold, at least on the shorter term, before we start talking about, all right, what's the bounce look like? I don't know if I'm quite there yet in terms of, all right, what's this bounce looking like? How are we looking like? I'm not sure Bitcoin's there yet, right? A really good example is you go back to this little capitulation that happened in December 10th, not even a month ago, right? Bitcoin just fell. Look at that nice wick there. And you can just see Bitcoin put in that 4-hour candle. It was not oversold yet. And then it actually just went lower to fall into oversold, eating into this wick that Bitcoin originally saw. That's something I'm watching for now. Are we going to see something similar? Bitcoin actually does start closing some 4-hour candles, eating into this move, going lower. RSI on the 4-hour starts falling into oversold. And then at that moment, I'm going to say, okay, what kind of recovery are we looking at for Bitcoin? Bitcoin does start closing 4-hour candles, moving lower. It's essentially breaking out of the lower trend line. And we're going to be discussing exactly what I was discussing in that YouTube video that I just showed, talking about the throwback to the apex. In this case, if it's falling lower, I'll be talking about the pullback potential to the apex. Because just because we're breaking the trend line to the downside does not mean we're immediately hitting the $37,000 target. It's confirmed. In the same sense, just when Bitcoin broke above the upper trend line, it doesn't mean $50,000 target is confirmed and it's definitely going to happen. It's why we anticipate the throwbacks, then we'll anticipate the pullbacks. And then we watch how Bitcoin continues to interact with this entire piece of structure, the symmetrical triangle. Because at the end of the day, everybody, that's what it's doing. This is like a dance that Bitcoin is having with the symmetrical triangle. And the question is, this is why we analyze structure. It's why we analyze these setups. The question is, who wins? The bulls or the bears? I'll tell you what, if the bears end up winning and we go to $37,000 Bitcoin retracement going to the weekly, that is exactly what we've seen in cycles past, and it doesn't even concern me at all. But I'll tell you what, the bulls can win here. The bulls can win here. I think we just need a little bit of time. This is what I'm watching today. Just what does the 4-hour consolidation look like? Does it start kind of going lower around an hour and a half until the next 4-hour candle opens? The other thing is, what could influence what happens next is more rumors or more breaking news around the Bitcoin spot ETF. So that's something I'll be keeping an eye on. I can't help but just mention the fact that it happened. I posted earlier, good morning Bitcoin with this drop. We were discussing how Jim Cramer says you can't kill Bitcoin and it's here to stay just yesterday. And that could have been the top because his calls, what he says, it's always the inverse. $45,679. You can see on the screen right there. You go to the Bitcoin daily chart, just look at this. He literally once again has just called the top, the short-term top at the very least. And so I just had to mention that because everybody's talking about it. It's not even a surprise. So everybody, let me know your thoughts out there. I hope you're doing well. Hit the subscribe. Hit the like, turn notifications on to get notified when things like this happen, moves like this, where we're watching it not only from a technical analysis perspective, but a news perspective. The next couple of weeks in crypto are going to be, they're going to be insane. So I'm anticipating more volatility. But everybody, I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you in the next video. Shout out to my daughter for these boss stickers. Look at that. Have an awesome day, everybody. God bless.